The spine-chilling story begins with a girl walking through a deserted place. It was an area where a festival was taking place, and everyone was trying to scare each other. The entire place was set up in a terrifying manner so that any visitor entering would be frightened intensely. Suddenly, a masked man appeared in front of the girl. He had a knife in his hand and started walking directly toward her. The girl believed this was all part of the festival, just an act to scare people. She confidently told the masked man, "I am not afraid of you." However, without saying a word, the masked man moved forward and used the knife to kill her. The girl died on the spot, and he hung her up. It was then revealed that several other children, like the girl, were also present there, and in reality, they were all being killed. After this scene, we are introduced to a group of college students who gathered at the house of a girl named Natalie. It was their last day of college, so they wanted to celebrate together. All the girls arrived at Natalie's house and started discussing where to go for the celebration. They eventually decided on a place called Hellfest, a Halloween festival where people dressed up in different scary costumes with the sole purpose of frightening others. Natalie, who was soft-hearted, hesitated about going because she feared getting scared in front of her friends, which could embarrass her. She was about to refuse, but her friends mentioned that her best friend, Ben, was also coming. Secretly liking Ben, Natalie changed her mind and agreed to join them. The entire group then set off for Hellfest. It was a vast place filled with eerie decorations, and everyone was dressed in terrifying costumes, attempting to scare the visitors. Natalie met her best friend Ben, who was also accompanied by his friends. Together, they all ventured deeper into the festival. The Halloween festival was celebrated there with the belief that experiencing fear was necessary. The rule was simple: if someone got scared, they lost. Natalie, Ben, and their friends decided to visit the most terrifying attraction in the festival, a haunted house filled with zombies. The entire place was designed in such a way that everyone looked like zombies and tried to scare the visitors in the worst possible way. Amidst the crowd, a girl appeared and accidentally bumped into a man. This man was none other than the dangerous masked man we had seen at the beginning of the story. The girl, instead of getting scared, started yelling at him and said, "You don't look scary at all. Go and put on a different costume." This deeply offended the masked man. He became so furious that he picked up a knife and started following her. Meanwhile, Natalie, Ben, and their friends entered the zombie house and began exploring it. Every little detail was crafted meticulously, making the place terrifying enough to scare anyone. Initially, Natalie got scared, just as she had expected. Her friends laughed at her, teasing her for being afraid. As they continued to explore, they reached a chamber where a girl came running toward them. She was the same girl who had insulted the masked man earlier. Panicked, she told everyone, "There's a man chasing me. He's trying to kill me. Please, hide me and get out of here." Terrified for her life, she ran behind a curtain to hide. Moments later, the masked man arrived, holding a knife. He calmly asked Natalie and her friends, where did the girl who was running go? Natalie and her friends assumed that this was all part of the festival experience and that the man was an employee hired to scare visitors. Without hesitation, Natalie casually pointed to the curtain and said, "She's hiding behind there." The masked man walked straight to the curtain, grabbed the girl, and dragged her out. Holding the knife in his hand, he moved forward to kill her. But Natalie and her friends simply stood there, watching. They all still believed that this was just a prank, an attempt to scare them. While Natalie's friends left the room, she stayed back and witnessed something horrifying. The masked man had actually killed the girl. The entire scene looked so real that Natalie couldn't help but think about it. The blood coming from the girl's body was real, and her screams sounded genuine. Natalie started to suspect that this wasn't an act, it was real. She rushed to tell her friends and said, "I think the masked man is real. He actually killed that girl." But instead of believing her, her friends just laughed. They told her, "It's all just part of the scare tactics. Many places use this kind of illusion to frighten people. The blood you saw was fake." Even after hearing this, Natalie couldn't shake off the feeling that something was seriously wrong. When she turned around again, she saw the masked man standing in front of her, gesturing for her to stay silent. Now, Natalie was truly terrified. This no longer felt like a joke to her. Meanwhile, her friends pulled her away to continue enjoying the festival. Everyone was playing different games and having fun. Natalie, too, spent some quality time with Ben, whom she secretly liked. She hadn't enjoyed herself this much in a long time. Even though she liked Ben, she was too scared to confess her feelings. Later, Natalie and Ben went to a photo booth where they started posing and capturing the moment, enjoying themselves. However, outside the booth, Natalie's friend Diana noticed something strange. As Natalie and Ben were taking pictures, the masked man suddenly appeared, took their photos, and walked away. Diana was confused. Why did he take their pictures? What was he going to do with them? Determined to find out, Diana decided to follow the masked man. He kept walking further away until he suddenly disappeared into a hidden spot. Without thinking twice, Diana continued following him and started calling out, "Why are you hiding from me? I've seen you before, back in the zombie house." It seemed like Diana wanted to confront the masked man. But as she kept walking, she realized she had entered a deserted area. But within a few moments, Diana's friend appeared in front of her and asked, "What are you doing here?" Diana explained, "I'm looking for that masked man who took Ben and Natalie's photos and came this way." However, after searching the area, they found no trace of him. So, Diana's friend took her back to their group, where everyone reunited and decided to explore different parts of the festival. Natalie and her friends split up to explore different attractions. Meanwhile, Ben went off in another direction, planning to get a toy for Natalie. However, he didn't tell her about it, so he left without saying anything. When Ben reached the toy shop, he realized the toys were priced way too high. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough money to buy them. He tried bargaining with the shopkeeper, but the shopkeeper refused to lower the price. Ben was determined to get Natalie a gift no matter what. Just then, he noticed a man coming out of a building carrying several teddy bears. Ben thought, maybe there's a place inside where toys are sold at a much lower price. Curious, he decided to check it out. As Ben entered the building, he found himself in a completely deserted area. The atmosphere was eerily silent, and large lockers were placed all around. He started looking inside the lockers and found them filled with toys. Picking one up, he was about to leave when suddenly, the masked man appeared in front of him. Ben was startled for a moment but then confronted him. "Why are you following us? We weren't even scared of you, and honestly, you're not scary at all." As soon as Ben turned to leave, the masked man gripped a hammer tightly in his hand. The masked man repeatedly struck Ben's neck with the hammer. The impact was so severe that Ben couldn't even move or scream. A few moments later, Ben's phone started ringing. He tried to escape, but before he could, the masked man lifted the hammer again and brought it down hard on Ben's head, killing him instantly. Ben had been receiving a call from Natalie. The masked man took Ben's fingerprints and used them to send a message to Natalie, either to lure her somewhere or to track her location. Natalie assumed that Ben had sent the message himself. She became extremely excited, unaware of the gruesome reality. Meanwhile, Natalie's other friends had already boarded a roller coaster ride. It was a terrifying ride, surrounded by ghost-like figures trying to scare them. As the roller coaster slowly moved forward, it suddenly stopped in the middle of the track. From a distance, Natalie spotted the same masked man again. She panicked and tried to get out, but fortunately, other people were present there as well. These were all actors, just a part of the horror-themed attraction. After finishing the ride, Natalie and her friends moved ahead for more adventures. However, she had no idea that the person she loved, Ben, was already dead. As they continued exploring, they entered a chamber filled with what appeared to be human body parts, arms, legs, and torsos arranged as a horrifying art display. It was all just part of the theme, designed to scare visitors. When they looked closer, they realized these were just props, so they didn't get too frightened. However, as they approached a figure with pipes attached to its face, making it look like a human experiment, it suddenly sprang to life and started chasing them. This time, they were genuinely terrified. Panic set in, and they scattered in different directions. Natalie ran one way, while her two male friends got separated and went in another direction. Since the chamber was massive, Nobody had any idea where their friends had ended up. They were only trying to escape from that place. Meanwhile, Natalie's two male friends were standing near a toy train that was moving toward them. One of them managed to escape, but the other got stuck there, unaware that the masked man was standing right behind him. As soon as the boy saw the masked man, the killer attacked him, knocked him to the ground, and then stabbed a sharp object directly into his eye. The way he killed him was even more brutal than how he had killed Ben. The boy took his last breath right there. Outside, Natalie was waiting for her friend, while the others reassured her that he would come. Suddenly, a man wearing a strange costume approached Natalie and vomited on her. Shocked and disgusted, Natalie rushed to the restroom with Diana to clean her dress. While freshening up, she suddenly heard a loud knock on the door. She felt a chill run down her spine. Looking down, she noticed a pair of shoes outside. The masked man was there. Natalie immediately realized the danger and tried to escape through another exit, but the masked man was already waiting for her there. He grabbed her head and attempted to pull her toward him. However, Natalie was lucky enough to break free and run away. She quickly found Diana and told her everything. Concerned, they both decided to call a security guard to check the area. But to their surprise, the masked man had already disappeared. The security guard dismissed their fear, thinking they were just scared and imagining things. However, Diana's eyes fell on the photographs lying nearby. These were the same photos of Natalie and Ben that the masked man had stolen earlier. This realization confirmed Diana's suspicion. The masked man was really after them, and he wasn't just there to scare them. He was there to kill. Diana and Natalie immediately rushed to their remaining friends and told them the truth. Diana insisted, "We need to get out of here. That masked man can do anything to kill us." However, one of their male friends refused to leave. "One of my friends is still inside. I can't leave without him. I'll wait for him to come back," he said. To make things more complicated, one of Natalie's friends was participating in a live show. Concerned for her safety, Natalie, Diana, and their male friend decided to check on her. It was a clown show where several performers entertained the audience with magic tricks. Natalie's friend was tied to a contraption where a sharp blade was set to fall, seemingly ready to behead her. It was supposed to be a simple magic trick for entertainment, but then Natalie noticed something terrifying. The masked man was among the performers. She recognized him by his shoes. That's when it hit her. This wasn't just a trick. The masked man actually intended to kill her friend. Natalie panicked and tried to rush onto the stage to stop him, but security blocked her way. Before she could do anything, the masked man pulled the lever. The blade came crashing down, appearing to sever her friend's head. But in a shocking twist, it turned out to be a prank. Her friend was completely unharmed. It was all part of the show. Everyone sighed in relief, thinking it was just an illusion. However, no one realized that the real game of death was about to begin. The masked man didn't release Natalie's friend from the contraption. Instead, he kept her trapped. That's when she realized, this was no trick anymore. He was really going to kill her. Terrified, she struggled to free herself and managed to escape. But as she ran, she remembered all the eerie incidents, Natalie's warnings, the murders she had witnessed. It was all real. The masked man didn't stop. He chased after her, and before everyone's eyes, he brutally killed her using a sharp weapon. The illusion had turned into a horrifying reality. Natalie's male friend also tried to save them, but the masked man killed him too. For the masked man, it seemed like killing everyone was just an ordinary task. Both of them were killed right there. Natalie and Diana witnessed this with their own eyes. They knew that they couldn't save the others, but at least they could escape and bring help. So, without thinking twice, they started running. As they fled for their lives, Natalie and Diana found themselves inside a chamber. This chamber, named Hell, was a maze in itself. Unfortunately, it seemed that the masked man had seen them running in. He started chasing them into the maze. The place was dark, and there were different activities happening in each room. As Natalie and Diana entered each room, sirens would suddenly go off. They soon realized that beneath the doors, there were lasers, and whenever anyone stepped on the lasers, the sirens would sound. Natalie figured out that no matter where they went, they wouldn't be able to escape the masked man. She quickly told Diana that they had to hide right there. "If we go any further, he'll catch us and kill us," she said. Diana was terrified and kept screaming, but Natalie calmed her down and managed to hide them inside a cupboard. They stayed hidden until the masked man left. After a while, they saw his shadow moving toward another room, which gave them the chance to escape. They quickly left and entered another chamber. This room had a lot of wooden items. Natalie grabbed several baseball bats for protection and handed one to Diana. She told her, "If we're going to get out of here, we have to fight back. He's killed so many of our friends already. And now, if they didn't do something, he would kill them too." Diana's mind started to spin, but Natalie calmly explained the plan to her. As they moved forward, they entered a chamber with many mannequins that all had the same face. Natalie immediately realized that the masked man was approaching, so she picked up a mask and disguised herself among the mannequins. The masked man entered the chamber, searching for them. Natalie seized the moment and attacked him, knocking him down. After multiple hits, the masked man was weakened. Natalie quickly grabbed Diana, and they ran to another part of the area. In this new area, they encountered more dummies, but they still didn't know what to do next. Natalie was struggling to think clearly in this critical situation. Eventually, both of them found a way to hide properly, but after a while, the masked man entered the room. Unfortunately, they accidentally made a sound, which revealed their location. The masked man, furious, tried to attack them. But Natalie had promised Diana that she would save her, so she fought fiercely to help her escape. She managed to fend off the masked man, but he managed to strike Diana's leg, injuring her so she could barely walk. The masked man was right behind them. Natalie urged Diana to keep running while she faced the masked man. He struck Natalie in the head with a weapon, knocking her unconscious. Taking advantage of this, Diana ran as fast as she could, but her injured leg slowed her down. After running a short distance, she accidentally stepped on a laser, triggering a siren. The masked man immediately knew her location and rushed after her with an axe in hand. No matter where Diana ran, she couldn't escape. The masked man was getting closer, and he was determined to kill her. Diana, terrified, began crying as the masked man kept advancing with the axe. But at that moment, the masked man didn't pay attention, and his foot also stepped on a laser. After a brief moment, the siren went off, and the side door opened. To his surprise, it was Natalie who was behind him, holding a sharp weapon. Without giving the masked man any chance to react, Natalie quickly thrust the weapon into his abdomen. The masked man collapsed, unable to defend himself, and Natalie rushed to get Diana out of there. Just in time, police officers arrived and rescued them. They managed to get both of them out safely, while 2 officers went to apprehend the masked man. As they entered, they found no sign of the masked man's body, just his blood on the floor, meaning he had escaped. It remained unclear whether he would return to harm Natalie and Diana, but for now, they were safe. The police officers were informed about everything: the masked man's actions, how he had been capturing and killing people at the festival. Many of Natalie's friends' bodies were recovered, and the festival was shut down after the horrifying events. The story then shifts to a car, where the masked man emerges and goes inside his house. Inside, he has a young daughter who runs to hug him. He removes his mask and places it in a closet filled with other masks. It's revealed that although the masked man appears ordinary on the outside, he is a complete psychopath who enjoys killing people. We are left wondering how many more lives he will take, as the story concludes on a suspenseful note. The terrifying journey ends here.